big dreams, I'ma do big things. Yeah, you see me on the big screen looking so clean. I don't move slow, I move fast right past.
What's going on, guys? Sam Explays here, and I was having a conversation with my brother the other day, and I was like, what haven't I done on my channel? We've kind of dipped into builds, we've done a few showcases, which, by the way, I'm going to get back to doing like boss showcases, budget showcases really soon. So if that was one of the things that interested you, I will update that. And we'll do some like new stuff, new content, kind of have fun with it. As well as I know some people were looking forward to the min-max bunny build. I will also have that out soon. Just wanted to give you guys an update on that. I'm still just testing some stuff. Generally, when I do builds, I try and find something different and or better to make than, because I've watched so many bunny guides and I've experimented with so many different builds. I don't like just putting the same exact guide out there that other people have already put out there. I like to add a twist on it, but unfortunately there's not like too much variety with the mods right now. So I try to find something that can kind of make it a little bit better. And if I can't, you know, it is what it is. I'll just throw out the guide. That way, just in case you don't watch other people or whatnot, you'll still have that information available to you if I am your favorite. I mean, stop it. But listen, boys and girls. We're going to be doing a tier list today. This is something that I have not done before on the channel. I don't know how far y'all are into the game. I don't know if you're in the early game or if you already have all the Descendants unlocked. Who knows? Maybe this will help somebody in the future. But I did want to make a tier list today. As I said, I was talking to my brother about it and he was like, bro, you should just do a tier list. I can't believe you haven't done one of those. And I was like, that's a good idea. So that's what we're going to be doing today. Now, before we jump into it, keep in mind this is all like my opinion. This is opinion based. I know that typically when people do tier lists, there's always going to be some salty players because they're like, oh, you put my favorite character in the low tier, you know, like, I mean, it is what it is, guys. Like, if I shit on your favorite character, that's just because it didn't fit my playstyle. I'm not saying it's unplayable. Every single one of these characters can be decent. They can be playable. That being said, though, some are going to be worse than others. So if I do rate your favorite character low, it's just my take on it. So disclaimer there. Let's go ahead and start this off. So the first one, and I think you'll will understand why I said what I said, because I know people like Ajax, but I think this guy, like, he needs some love, man. I mean, and the reason for this is because there's not really a need for tanks in the First Descendant right now. You're not getting that much value. Granted, he can be really good as far as like blocking projectiles and reducing damage for your team. However, I think there are much better options. As it stands right now, TFD is all about damage Descendants, and while I do think support Descendants are definitely amazing because they can boost the other Descendants, tanks don't really do much. I mean, as I said, they can block projectiles, they can kind of mitigate some damage, but we already have that with like Descendant mods. You throw on increased HP, increased defense, and then you have like 4 external components with good rolls, you're probably not ever gonna die, right? So I do think that maybe as the future progresses, we will kind of get into a meta where maybe tanks are good, but as it stands right now, I think that Ajax is pretty weak comparatively to all of the other Descendants. He doesn't really offer much in the meta right now, so that is why I'm placing him so low. I think that they definitely need to buff this man. I know he has like a skill power build where you can just like AoE clear mobs. His shield is really good. I'm not saying it's not, but it's very situational and niche. I don't think he's like too high up on the priority list. So that's why I'm going to put him in the need buffs. For Blair, I think Blair can be pretty solid. I'm going to put him in the C tier. I don't think he's one of the best Descendants. I don't think he's one of the worst. He does have a really cool Transcendent mod that buffs your weapon damage. So if you're going like weapon build Blair, that could be really good if you're just trying to do some more damage output. If you have like a really good gun, he definitely is a good option there. He also has some pretty cool abilities, you know, he shoots fire. Like he's an overall cool dude. When I see Blair, I just think of Final Fantasy, but I wouldn't say he's like absolutely broken, you know what I mean? Like he's not overpowered, he's just kind of like middle of the road. I don't think he's like terrible, but I don't think he's like good, you know what I mean? But keep in mind when I say good, as I said, all characters in this game can be viable and they can pump some damage. It's just that there are better options, that's all. Moving on, I don't think this is a surprise surprise to anyone, Bunny is going to be going in the S tier. She is the best farmer in the game. She is the poster child of TFD, and she just overall does really good damage, can just AoE clear those packs really quickly. You're going to be playing Bunny a large majority of the time that you're playing this game, even in the end game. Once you get Ultimate Bunny, she is going to be unlocked through High Voltage, so she is actually going to be really good at bossing as well. But for right now, we're only talking about normal Bunny. Everybody should have her. The game gives it to you, and she's definitely going to be a really good descendant to have throughout the entirety of your playthrough. So she's going to be going in the S tier. I don't think that's a surprise. Next up, we got Enzo. I am putting Enzo in the S tier. The reason for this is because his Transcendent mod, Firearm Supply Enhancer, I believe it's called, is a huge damage buff to your team. It's going to increase your critical chance and weak point damage. He is one of the best descendants in the game. He offers some amazing utility, and I am never going to be mad when I see an Enzo in my party. I think he is one of the best descendants in the game. Absolutely. Next up, we have SMO. I'm gonna be real, I've never even seen this dude. I'm assuming he's trash because nobody plays him. Like, literally, I've never seen anyone play this character. I know he gets memed on a lot because people are like, who is that? Because nobody plays him. I did look at his abilities. This is actually one of the only descendants that I haven't actually unlocked and played. His kit kind of looks like whatever. I mean, again, I think tanks are just not in a great spot right now because there's really no need to play a tank when you can play something that does more damage and get the same result. So I definitely think they need to take a look at tanks as a whole in this game and maybe retweak some of their abilities or somehow make them more useful or buff them in some way that makes people want to play them. And SMO just doesn't look that interesting, and he is just probably the least played descendant in the entire game. Next up, I have Freyna. I'm going to put her in the A tier. The reason for this is because she can actually do insane damage when she's fully invested into with the Secret Garden. If you build her correctly, her poison ticks are going to chunk, and I think she's overall just a really solid descendant. Keep in mind she is getting reworked, so we're not sure exactly what that's going to look like. I assume they'll probably change up either the scaling on some of her abilities and or just rework her completely. We'll have to wait and see what that looks like. I think she's pretty good. She can definitely chunk out some damage with a good gun built around her. As of right now, I'm just gonna keep her in the A tier because I don't think she's bad. I think overall she's a solid character in my opinion. Next up, we have Glay. I don't think it's any surprise Glay is going into the S tier. She is one of the best bossing characters in the entire game. Even base descendant Glay is extremely good. She's just gonna buff your weapon damage like crazy, and she literally turns like Ultra Instinct when you press her one ability. Like I don't know if any of you guys watch like DBZ, but the silver hair transformation is so sick. She does have kind of a weird play style. You kind of have to build her with like all CDR and skill duration, so you basically turn her into infinite ammo Glay. But she also has like some other cool builds. You could do like a massive simplification build that does like a AoE build, as well as, of course, you have the Massacre Glay with the Python and or the Thunder Cage. She is an absolute unit, and she is just extremely good. I'm gonna put Jaber in the C tier. He just recently got like some quality of life buffs. Again, this is one of those characters that I would kind of say is middle of the road. I wouldn't say they're like unplayable, but they're also not like insanely good. He does have his like turrets, and they can do some pretty solid damage. However, the thing is the turrets are gonna be stationary. So, you know, you throw on something like Bunny, like, I mean, like, he doesn't really fulfill a purpose is what I'm trying to say. Like, if you're trying to farm, you would just use Bunny, right? I mean, you wouldn't use Jaber. His turrets are really good for like reactors and stuff, like the void farm things that you can do for the shards. Like, you can just post up your turrets and the mobs will run to you and the turrets will just delete them. Like, he's pretty solid for that, you know, but his damage is kind of underwhelming on bosses, and he's like not the best farmer, so that's why he's getting placed kind of low. Kyle is gonna go in the needs buffs as well. As you can see, we're noticing a pattern here. Now, Kyle is actually really fun to play. You can like fly in the sky like Superman, and then you just crash on the ground. He also throws up like this energy shield that, like, when people shoot it, it fills up. He can like leap in the air. He's overall a cool character to play, but I still think he's just not amazing. He was extremely good, but that was only because of a bug where he was like one-shotting bosses, and then once they fixed that, everybody kind of stopped playing him. So I do think they need to kind of buff this man up, make him a little bit more appealing to play for sure. Next up, we have Lepic. I'm gonna go ahead and put Lepic in the A tier as well. I think he is very solid. He can be really, really good for dungeons and farming because he can group all of the enemies with his ability, which is like really, really good. He also can nuke with his 4 ability. I think he's overall a really solid character. I would definitely place him in high A. I'm generally not mad when I see a Lepic on my team. The only time is like in late game bosses where everybody's using like the one-shot Lepic builds and then they just die in one hit, you know? But that's the only time. If I see like a Lepic in a dungeon or something like that, you know, I am like, hell yeah, because I know he can just like group everything in the room. He's gonna make the run a lot more enjoyable. So I'm gonna put him in A tier. He does pretty good damage. He's good at farming, so that's why he's getting placed there. Next up, we have Viessa. I'm gonna put Viessa in B tier, and the reason why is I don't think she's bad. I just think that everybody else kind of does it better. Now, the only thing Viessa is the best at is leveling weapon XP proficiency. When you're in the fortress and you are like farming like reactors where you're just kind of like placing your abilities on the ground, you insta clear all the mobs that spawn and then you abort the mission, rinse and repeat. You don't see too many VSs in bossing. There's just other descendants that just like do more damage than she does. So while I don't think she's bad at what she does, I don't think she's like amazing either, right? She is a solid farmer. Like she does have a speed boost and she can pump some damage, but I don't think she is like I think she's good, but she's not the best at what she does. So that's why I'm putting her in the B tier. Honestly, I'd say she leans more on the A tier. I'd say high B, low A, but it's whatever. Basically, if there was an in-between from A to B, that's where Viessa would fall in. I would put her in A, but then we're gonna have nobody in B. I think I'm gonna just keep her here. The thing is, you can make an argument to like swap these two, right? Like put Freyna in B and then Viessa in A. It's kind of situational depending on what you're doing, but for right now, I'm just going to keep it the way it is. Next up, we have Sharon. Sharon's going to be kind of a hard one because she does have like really good utility with her Battlesuit Transcendent mod. She can give the team a huge buff because she can do defense shred, as well as she also can do like one-shot builds where she just does a shit ton of damage with her stealth ability. If you're using like a pistol or a sniper rifle, that first shot is going to be enhanced. I'm going to put her in the A tier. I think she's pretty solid. She has some very niche builds she can do to just be extremely good. And then she also has like a Transcendent mod that does like really good AoE damage with her one ability. I believe it's called Release Cutting Force, maybe. I might be getting that wrong, but basically she presses her one ability, you stack damage on your Descendant mods, and it clears the entire room. So she can be good at farming, and she's really good at outposts and stuff like that, because again, she can one-shot the bosses. And even in hard bosses, when you're going into the first 5 hard bosses solo, if you have like a built-out sniper rifle and a fully built Sharon and you just use her stealth ability and like shoot their weak point, it can do a lot of damage, like a massive shit ton of damage. So I'm gonna put her in the A tier. Next up, we have Eugen. Eugen's gonna go in the S tier, and the reason for this is because I really like support characters. I have never been mad about having a Eugen on my team in a boss fight. I can kind of just turn my brain off and not really worry about like dying, because they're just going to keep me topped off the whole fight. So it can let me focus on like doing like proper rotations with my damage. So I love Eugen. I think he is super underrated. He is just really, really good at supporting the team. I know a lot of people say that supports in this game are like really bad. However, I disagree. I think the supports in this game are really good. Next up, we have Valby. Valby, of course, is going to be going into the S tier. She is extremely good at farming. I'm sure everybody by now knows about the Valby run, and she is really good at bossing as well if you have a good weapon. you can throw on supply moisture and it lets her chunk. So she is really good, one of the best characters in the game. Now, they didn't have Haley or Luna on this list, so I just took screenshots of mine and then added it. For Haley, she is right now the best Descendant in the game as far as bossing. She does an absurd amount of damage. It is insane how much damage she does, and she is a base Descendant. Not only that, she does not have any of her Transcendent mods yet. I cannot even fathom how much stronger she is going to be once we get those Transcendent mods, because right now she is just deleting hard bosses in like 2 to 3 seconds. She is absolutely a top priority pick if you are struggling with that hard content. She will carry you through it. Once you have her built up, it is crazy how much damage she does. I cannot emphasize it enough. This character is completely broken. If you do not have her, or if you almost have her, build her up immediately. She is insane. If you want, you can go look at my Haley guide. I just dropped it yesterday. Trust me when I say you will want this character. She beats out Glay in bossing. She is just amazing. Next up, we have Luna. Now, I know I might get flamed for this, but I'm gonna put Luna in S tier. I know people think she's like really, really bad, but again, I think support characters in this game are super underrated. There have been a lot of times where I am in a boss fight and Luna's buffs are just such a good quality of life for me. In that fight, I'm getting a damage buff, I'm restoring MP, she's just overall a good character in my opinion. Like, I'm never going to be mad about having a Eugen or a Luna on my team. I think she is definitely viable. She's extremely good. She's just kind of tough to learn how to play because you have to kind of do a lot of things at once. You have to time your abilities correctly while shooting, while rotating around the map. She is definitely one of, actually, I'd argue she is the hardest Descendant to play out of all of them. However, I do think she is really good. Next up, we have Ultimate Ajax. For this one, I'll just put him on the C tier simply because he is just going to be the upgraded version of Ajax. I think it's a little bit better, obviously, than base Ajax. However, I still think that he's going to need some buffs. I mean, again, anything in this game can be playable. You can build around it, but there are better options. But if you do just like having that tank mentality where you just want to protect your party, that's totally cool. Like, you can definitely play them, but I do think that they need to find some way to buff these guys for sure. And then of course we have Ultimate Bunny. She is of course going to be going in the S tier. She's really, really good. Once you get high voltage, she can definitely do really, really good damage in the boss fights, and she is going to be the best farmer in the game, obviously, so you are going to be playing this character a lot. If you don't have any ultimates yet, the first ultimate that you need to unlock is Ultimate Bunny, because she is who you're going to be grinding with the most, and this game is all about grinding stuff, so she is extremely important. She should be your #1 priority when you're chasing ultimates. So yeah, she's just extremely good. Then we have Ultimate Glay, and of course she is going to be in the S tier as well. She was the best bossing character in the game up until Haley was released. She's still really solid. Ultimate Glay is really hard to farm though. All of her drop chances are 6%, so she is definitely one of the harder characters to unlock. However, if you just like her aesthetic and you like going Super Saiyan, she is currently one of the best characters in the game, so definitely if she looks like fun to you, you could definitely play Ultimate Glay. She is extremely valuable. Then of course we have Ultimate Lepic. I am going to put him in S tier simply because this guy is good, pretty solid at farming, and also he can do like the glass cannon Lepic build, which can one-shot a lot of the bosses, those early hard game bosses. And then if you also have a correct group, you can also do this strategy in the late game bosses. However, again, you are going to be a wet napkin. You can go full DPS build and you'll be doing a shit ton of damage, but you'll be dying pretty quickly depending on how you build. So most of the ultimates are going to be going in the S tier, aside from this next one, which is Viessa. I am placing Ultimate Viessa in the A tier. Again, I don't think that Viessa is a bad character. I just think that other people do her job a little bit better, and nobody really uses her except to farm for weapon proficiency on reactors. I do hope once we go into the future, we'll kind of get updates on these Descendants to kind of bring them up with everybody else. That way we can kind of have some variety in the Descendants we play, and not everybody is just going to be gravitating towards like what is the best. but there will always be characters that are better than the others, depending on the situation. That's just when you have a game that has a roster this big, that is just gonna happen naturally. People are gonna want to min-max and do things optimally. So I think it's fair to put Viessa, Ultimate Viessa in the A tier. And then I had to just add Ultimate Valby because this obviously is an old list, so I had to add the newer characters. But Ultimate Valby, it should come as no surprise. She's going to be going in the S tier next to the other Ultimates. I'll put her right there. So yeah, she is extremely good. Obviously, if base Valby is going in the S tier, she is going to be placed a little bit higher. Valby, in my opinion, is a extremely good quality of life character to have on your account. She is going to be next to Ultimate Buddy in terms of priority because she's really good at bossing and farming, so I think that she is definitely going to be viable for whatever you're trying to do. Basically, like half the time I'm playing this game, I'm on Ultimate Bunny and Valby. I don't really use Sharon too much anymore because I've kind of like gotten everything that I've wanted to get. I know if you're in the early game, most likely you're just going to be playing Bunny and Sharon, but yeah, I think later when you're like farming things, you're going to be using Bunny and Valby. So in terms of what I think the list looks like, I think I was pretty fair with this. Now, of course, there's going to be like people that disagree with me, think that their characters should be higher and stuff like that. Keep in mind that this is just my opinion of what I think about the characters. Like, obviously, if you have a different opinion, I'm not saying that, oh, I'm right and you're wrong, but I'm just like, this is from my perspective. So if you disagree with me, that is totally fine. It's all good, dude. Like, I'm not gonna be mad about it, but yeah, this is the way I see the game currently. I think all of these options in the S tier are just absolutely good options. They're good characters to have on your account. It kind of depends on, do you want to play a more team-oriented support style, or do you want to do the higher characters that have a lot of value as far as like farming and bossing, right? All of these choices are really good, and I'm not saying these choices are bad. Like, I'm not saying any of these choices are terrible. It's just in terms of quality of life and optimization. You know, if you want to go farm with Ajax, you want to do a spell power build or whatever, and you could just one-shot the entire room, that's totally cool. I'm not telling you not to do that. This is just kind of like, you know, recommendations on what I think you should be prioritizing. Right now, I would say Haley is the biggest I would say Haley and Ultimate Bunny. If you didn't have both of these characters, I would say absolutely get these two first. Haley for bossing and then Ultimate Bunny for farming. You won't regret it. You are just going to absolutely nuke everything once they're built up. And then, of course, Glay and Valby are just really good overall as well. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Let me know if you disagree, you agree. I know tier lists are highly subjective and opinionated based, so I'm sure not everybody is going to agree with the placements, but if you kind of are leaning more towards the agree side, like let me know in the comments if you do like this sort of content, and then when in the future when they add more characters, I'll absolutely update it. But that is going to be all from me today, guys. I hope you have a great one. I hope y'all have a awesome day and or night, depending on when you're watching. I am Samix Plays. Y'all take care. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.